You know, it's wild. Most people think narcissists just have a little ego problem, right? They think, oh, he just loves himself too much or she's just full of herself. But let me tell you something that'll shake you. This is so much deeper than that. See, a narcissist didn't just deal with arrogance. No, what you're looking at is a weapon that's been shaped, sharpened, and sent out by something darker, something spiritual. When they walk into your life, they come dressed in light. They're charming. They say all the right things. They make you feel like you've just met the person you've been praying for. And in the beginning, it feels good. And that's the first clue. Because narcissists are masters of illusion. They're not just confident. They're calculated. They read you, they mirror you, they find your vulnerabilities and pretend to fill them. But they're not really connecting with you. They're studying you. And while they're doing that, something demonic is whispering to them, not in a horror movie way, but in a strategic, spiritual kind of way. These spirits specialize in manipulation, deception, seduction, and they use people, yes, even people you fall in love with, as tools. The narcissist isn't just pulling you in for attention. They're pulling you in for control. That love bombing you experience in the beginning, that's not love. It's bait. It's the sugar on the trap. Because once you're in deep, emotionally invested, mentally attached, maybe even spiritually tied, that's when the mask begins to slip. That's when the charm starts to crack and you begin to see the real face behind it. And it's not beautiful. It's not kind. It's cold. It's selfish. It's cruel. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about because you felt it. That moment when the switch flips, when the same person who once made you feel special now makes you feel crazy, makes you question your worth, makes you apologize for things you didn't do. That's not love. That's not just emotional immaturity. That's spiritual warfare. That's the presence of a spirit that hates intimacy, hates truth, and feeds off of confusion. And guess what? That spirit doesn't just want your heart broken. It wants your soul tired. It wants you drained, doubting, and disconnected from God's voice. Because the moment you start wondering, maybe I'm the problem, that spirit starts winning. The moment you start shrinking who you are to keep the peace, it starts feeding. That's the plan. To isolate you, to make you dependent, to strip you of your clarity, your strength, your purpose. And it all started with a charming smile and a perfectly worded compliment. But it was never innocent. It was a setup. And let's be real, it's terrifying when you realize it wasn't an accident, that the person who drew you in so gently was being influenced by something so dark. But here's what I need you to understand. Recognizing it is the first step to breaking it. You've got to start seeing these relationships for what they are. Not just toxic, but strategic. Not just painful, but planned. Because once you know what you're dealing with, you stop playing defense, you stop blaming yourself, and you start fighting from a place of power. You stop seeing them as just broken people and start seeing them as hosts for something unholy they're trying to get to you. And if the enemy has to use something that fine, that smooth, and that convincing to reach you, that means you're carrying something valuable. Let that sink in. Now, once you see through the charm, once the veil is lifted, you start asking the real question, why do they act like this? Why does a narcissist move the way they do? Why can't they take accountability? Why do they lie with a straight face, manipulate with no remorse, and watch you cry without blinking? That's not normal. That's not just a personality disorder. That's not just childhood trauma. Now, what you're looking at is deeper. You're looking at something spiritual, something demonic. Now, I know that word might sound extreme to some people. Demonic, they say, that's a bit much, but let's call it what it is. Because when someone operates in a way that's so cold, so calculating, so void of empathy, it's not just about brokenness anymore. There's a spirit behind that. And that spirit isn't just influencing them, it's working through them. That's why they constantly need admiration, why they twist every conversation to make themselves the victim or the hero, why they can't stand to see you grow, succeed, or shine without them. That spirit hates light, it hates humility, it hates unity. So what does it do? It stirs up chaos, it confuses communication, it distorts perception, it convinces the narcissist that love is weakness and manipulation is power. And I'm not saying the narcissist is possessed. I'm saying they're under influence. There's a difference. See, a person who refuses to confront their inner brokenness, who refuses to surrender their pride, becomes a perfect candidate for these spirits to operate. And once those spirits find a home, they don't just want control of that person. They want access to the people around them. That's why the narcissist behavior feels personal, like a targeted attack, because it is. That spirit sees the light in you and wants to dim it, sees your peace and wants to disturb it, sees your purpose and wants to derail it. So it uses that narcissist to wear you down mentally, emotionally, spiritually, until you forget who you are. Some of y'all thought you were just in a bad relationship, but you were actually in a spiritual assignment. The enemy saw your potential and sent someone to distract, deceive, and delay you. But here's the key. You don't have to stay there. Once you recognize the spirit behind the behavior, you stop trying to fix them and start protecting you. You start praying different. You start setting boundaries without guilt. You start speaking truth even if your voice shakes, because now you know you're not crazy, you were in a war. And now that your eyes are open, you don't play soft with something that came to steal your joy, kill your confidence, and destroy your identity. You fight, you armor up, you cut ties if you have to, and you stop letting what's demonic disguise itself as love. Let's talk about the moment everything breaks, the betrayal, the cheating, that moment when the mask doesn't just slip, it shatters, and you're left standing in the ruins of everything you thought was real. You loved this person, you trusted them, you believed their words, you held on through the gaslighting, through the highs and lows, through all the moments that didn't make sense. But this right here, this betrayal, it cuts different. It's not just a break in the relationship, it's a spiritual rupture. And now I'm not just talking about somebody who made a mistake and took responsibility. No. I'm talking about the narcissistic kind of cheating, the kind where they hide it, lie about it, twist it around, and somehow make you feel like it was your fault. The kind where they don't even seem sorry, they just seem exposed. That's not repentance. That's damage control. That's what happens when the spirit behind the narcissist gets caught slipping. Because when a narcissist cheats, it's not about love. It's about control. It's about ego. It's about feeding the empty void inside of them that no amount of attention, validation, or intimacy can ever fill. And here's the part that messes people up. They don't just cheat with their body. They cheat with their energy, with their time, with their loyalty, with their words. They make you feel like you're the only one, then turn around and say the same thing to someone else, because to them it does mean nothing. Not because you're not valuable, but because they've been disconnected from truth for so long, they can't even recognize value when it's right in front of them. And you feel that pain in your spirit, don't you? Not just in your heart, because betrayal on this level doesn't just hurt. It shakes something deep inside you. You start questioning everything. Was any of it real? Did they ever love me? How could someone I gave everything to treat me like I'm disposable? That's the plan. That's how the spirit behind the narcissist operates. It wants to break your sense of reality. It wants to make you doubt your discernment, your worth, your identity. Because if it can break you there, it can stop you from healing. It can stop you from trusting again. It can stop you from walking in purpose. But here's what they don't tell you. When a narcissist cheats, they're not just crossing a boundary with you. They're crossing a line in the spirit realm. See, when they violate the covenant of trust, when they deceive and defile what was meant to be sacred, they open themselves up to consequences they can't even see coming. Because you can't keep playing with people's hearts like it's a game and expect to come out clean. You can't use someone who was sent to love you, to help you, to uplift you, and think God's just going to look the other way. There is a cost to betrayal. And even if it doesn't show up right away, it shows up. It shows up in their peace, in their future, and their inability to form anything real with anyone else, because what you sow, you will reap. So if you've ever been on the receiving end of that kind of betrayal, don't let it make you bitter. Let it make you aware. Let it sharpen your spirit. Let it teach you to stop ignoring red flags just because you want to believe in someone's potential. Let it remind you that love without honor is nothing but a trap. Because when someone cheats on you, they don't just betray your body, they betray your soul. You know what people rarely talk about? What happens to the narcissist after they've done their damage? After they cheat, after they lie, manipulate, and tear someone down. Because on the outside, it looks like they're doing just fine. They move on fast. They post on social media like nothing happened. They laugh, party, act unbothered. Like their betrayal didn't just leave someone else in pieces. But what you need to understand is this: just because you don't see the consequences right away doesn't mean they're not coming. There's always a cost. Always. The narcissist thinks they're in control. They think they got away with it, that they won because you're the one left hurt. But in reality, they've just set something in motion that's going to follow them spiritually, emotionally, and sometimes even physically, because you can't sow destruction into someone's life and expect peace to follow you. It doesn't work like that. You can't break covenant, betray trust, and spiritually abuse someone without heaven taking notice. There are rules in the spirit, and when you break those, judgment doesn't need your permission to show up. Some of them start feeling it right away. That uneasiness in their spirit, the restless nights, the failed connections that don't go anywhere, the increasing need for attention that never satisfies. That's not coincidence. That's spiritual residue. That's the fallout of what they've done. See, they didn't just hurt someone. They invited darkness into their own life by giving it room to operate through them. That door doesn't close just because they move on. That door stays open until they repent. And narcissists don't like repentance. They like pretending. But pretending doesn't stop the consequences. The new relationship they jump into, that's not healing, that's hiding. That's a distraction, a cover-up. But eventually, the same cycle starts again. Why? Because the spirit hasn't been dealt with. And wherever they go, it follows them. That charm starts to fade. That fake confidence starts to crack. They start losing people, losing respect, losing opportunities. Doors start closing, not because someone cursed them, but because you can't operate in darkness and expect the light to bless you. And then sometimes life hits them in ways you can't even imagine. Health starts breaking down, finances start drying up, friendships fall apart, isolation creeps in, and still they won't admit what they did because pride won't let them. That's the spirit's last hold, keeping them in denial so they can never truly be free. But denial doesn't stop judgment, it just delays growth. And that delay can feel like torment. So while you're sitting there thinking, why did this happen to me? Why did they get away with it? You need to know they didn't. What they did has consequences, and those consequences might not show up in ways you can track, but they always show up. It might hit their peace, their mind, their ability to form deep connections. It might even hit the very thing they used to hurt you. That same mouth that lied on you will be the same mouth no one trusts anymore. That same charm they used to cheat will be the same charm people grow suspicious of. That same ego will be the very thing that isolates them. So don't waste your time waiting for karma to play out in public. Trust that what you can't see, God can, and God doesn't play when it comes to his children. You keep walking in truth. Keep healing, keep growing, because while they're out there pretending, the consequences are already chasing them. So now you've seen it all, the love bombing, the lies, the betrayal, the fallout. You face the pain, the confusion, the spiritual chaos. But the real question now is, what about you? What's happening to you through all of this? Because if we're honest, it's not just about surviving what they did, it's about understanding what it did to you. So you can't go through something like that and come out untouched. That kind of warfare doesn't just leave bruises, it leaves imprints on your soul. Some of you are walking around with invisible scars. You smile, you function, you go to work, you even laugh sometimes, but deep down, something still feels broken. You don't trust like you used to. You doubt yourself more than ever. You flinch at kindness, waiting for the catch. You second guess your intuition because the last time you followed your heart, it led you into a storm. That's not just emotional trauma, that's spiritual wounding. And if you don't deal with it, it festers. It turns into bitterness, into fear, into isolation. And that's exactly what the enemy wants. Because if he can't destroy you through the narcissist, he'll try to destroy you through your response to them. He'll use the pain to harden your heart. He'll convince you to build walls instead of boundaries. He'll tell you it's safer not to love, not to trust, not to hope again. But here's the truth. Healing isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about refusing to let what happened own you. You are not what they did. You are not the lies they told you. You are not the version of yourself you became just to survive them. That was a survival mode version of you, not the real you. And now that you've made it through the fire, it's time to start peeling off the residue. You've got to heal your mind, your heart, your spirit, because what they try to break in you, that's where your power lives. That's the part they were targeting the whole time. And I get it. Healing feels unfair. You're the one who got hurt, yet you're the one doing the work. You're the one praying, going to therapy, trying to rebuild your self-worth while they seem like they're coasting through life untouched. But don't let that fool you. The healing isn't for them. It's for you. It's so you can reclaim your joy, your peace, your voice. It's so you don't carry that toxic residue into the next season of your life. Because here's the dangerous thing. If you don't heal, you risk becoming what hurt you. You risk adopting their behaviors as survival tools. You start manipulating because you don't want to be vulnerable. You start isolating because it feels safer than connection. And before you know it, the wound turns into a weapon. That's why healing is so critical. It's not just self-care. It's spiritual warfare. It's you saying what they did will not define me. Healing means choosing to forgive, not for their sake, but for your own freedom. It means confronting the pain, not avoiding it. It means rebuilding your identity from truth, not trauma. It's choosing to believe that even though they saw you as disposable, God sees you as divine, that you're still worthy, still whole, still chosen. Because the ultimate revenge, it's not becoming cold like them, it's becoming whole in spite of them. After everything, after the deception, the betrayal, the spiritual warfare, the emotional fallout, and the long road to healing, you come to the most powerful part of the journey, rising, standing up, not just surviving, but stepping into power. Because when you've been through hell and you come out standing, you don't walk the same, you don't talk the same, you carry something deeper, something stronger, something unshakable. See, the enemy thought what happened to you would bury you, that the pain would keep you stuck, that the heartbreak would silence your voice and dim your light. But what the enemy forgot is that pain, when surrendered to God, becomes purpose. That suffering, when it doesn't break you, becomes fuel. And the very thing that was sent to destroy you becomes the platform that elevates you. The enemy didn't just underestimate your strength, he underestimated your calling. Because let me tell you something real. When you walk away from a narcissist, you're not just walking away from a toxic relationship. You're walking into clarity, into alignment, into divine protection. You're saying, I will no longer negotiate with manipulation. I will no longer apologize for my boundaries. I will no longer abandon myself to keep the peace. That's a spiritual shift. That's a declaration of war against every spirit that tried to silence you. And yeah, it's scary walking alone, starting over, rebuilding your confidence brick by brick. But you want to know what's scarier? Staying bound, staying small, living under the illusion that love has to hurt in order to be real. That's the lie you've got to kill, because real love doesn't manipulate. It doesn't betray. It doesn't punish you for having needs or opinions. Real love holds space for your growth, your voice, your purpose. So you rise. Even when your legs are shaking, even when your heart still aches, even when your mind is still healing, you rise because the power that lives inside of you is greater than the pain that tried to bury you. You rise because there's a version of you on the other side of this who is bold, healed, whole, and walking in wisdom. And when you rise, you begin to see the game for what it was. The narcissist was never your forever. They were a mirror showing you every wound that needed healing, every lie you believed about yourself, every place where you gave away power you didn't even know you had. And now you're reclaiming all of it, piece by piece, day by day. You're getting your mind back, your identity back, your joy back. And the best part? You start moving differently. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop chasing validation from people who couldn't even value your presence. You start attracting peace instead of chaos, wholeness instead of wounds, real love instead of illusions. Because now you know you've seen the dark and you chose light. You've lived through deception and you chose truth. You've felt broken and you chose healing. That kind of power can't be faked. It can't be taught in a classroom. That's earned in the fire. That's what makes you unstoppable. And when the narcissist looks back and sees you thriving, glowing, walking in purpose, they'll realize too late what they lost, but it won't even matter anymore because you're not rising for revenge. You're rising because you finally remembered who you are. And that is the real victory.